Hello students, welcome back to the class of Sonia Munjal, and I am again with the same chapter, the Delhi Sultans part 3. Hope so you have gone through the previous videos, and in last of the video of this chapter I explained you about the Mongol attacks on Delhi that took place under Genghis Khan. Now that attacks posed a great challenge to the authority of Alauddin Khalji and Muhammad Tughlaq. So this is the today's topic of this session, that how Khalji and Tughlaq dealt with Mongol invasion. Like that invasions made by Mongols posed a great challenge to their authority. So they had to introduce several administrative measures, but there were differences between the measures which were adopted by Alauddin Khalji and Muhammad Tughlaq. Basic difference was that Alauddin Khalji's, whatever the measures were taken by Alauddin Khalji, that were defensive in nature. It means that he wanted to protect his people from Mongol attacks, whereas Muhammad Tughlaq was offensive in nature. He wanted to attack on the Mongols to crush them. सो दिस वॉज अ बेसिक डिफरेंस कि जितने भी मेजर्स अलाउद्दीन खलजी ने लिए हैं वो डिफेंसिव हैं, so that he could protect his people, so that he could protect his state and subjects, whereas Muhammad Tughlaq wanted to prove his own dominance, so he wanted to crush them. Now the first measure, that Delhi was attacked twice during the reign of Alauddin Khalji in 1299 and 1300, and the second attack was on 1302 to 1303. So as a defensive measure, Alauddin Khalji raised a large standing army. He maintained a large number of soldiers so that he could protect his state. Whereas Muhammad Tughlaq, the Sultanate was attacked in the early years of Muhammad Tughlaq reign, because the attacks were started during the reign of Alauddin Khalji and it continued till the reign of Muhammad Tughlaq. The Mongol army was defeated. In the initial years, Muhammad Tughlaq succeeded in defeating the Mongol army. So he was confident about the strength of his army, that he could crush the Mongols completely. So his resources to plan an attack on Transoxania. So after defeating the Mongol army in Delhi, he planned to attack on Transoxania, and for this purpose he raised a large standing army. Although both the rulers raised a large standing army, but for the different purpose. Then Alauddin constructed a new garrison town named Siri for his soldiers. Alauddin made a new town, a separate town where his soldiers could station with the weapons. Rather than constructing a new garrison town, the oldest of the four cities of Delhi, Delhi-i-Kuna, was emptied of its residents and the soldiers garrisoned. This was the difference. Alauddin Khalji constructed new town for the soldiers, whereas Muhammad Tughlaq emptied one of the city of the Delhi and made his residents to move to the another city named Dolatabad. So one of the city was evacuated, was emptied for the soldiers, and he made that city as a garrison town for the soldiers, and the residents of the old city were sent to the new capital of Dolatabad in the south. Means his capital was Delhi, but he shifted his capital to Dolatabad. Then Alauddin Khalji, the soldiers had to be fed. This was done through the produce collected as tax from lands between the Ganga and Yamuna Doab. This area was very fertile and the agriculture production was very good. So he raised the taxes on agricultural produce, and the limit was 50% of the total agricultural produce. So, but besides this agricultural tax, no other taxes were taken by the peasants. Whereas Muhammad Tughlaq also followed the same thing. He also collected the taxes from the peasants and he raised the amount of the tax by 50%. But the circumstances were totally different. When he raised the tax, that time Delhi was facing a severe famine. So the peasants were not in a situation to give the tax to the Muhammad Tughlaq. So they revolted against the Muhammad Tughlaq authority, and side by side also he imposed additional taxes as well. Whereas Alauddin Khalji gave freedom from the additional taxes paid by the peasants, but Muhammad Tughlaq posed additional taxes as well as raised the amount of agricultural tax as well. Next, the soldiers had to be paid. So, Alauddin chose to pay his soldiers' salaries in cash. It means that he paid his soldiers in cash rather than इक्ताज. इक्ताज की जगह वो अपने soldiers को क्या देते थे? Cash salary. So that the soldiers would buy their supplies from merchants in Delhi. The essential items with that salary they could buy. And also he ensured the fixation of the price also of the basic commodities. Like it was thus feared that merchants would raise their prices. So, to stop this, Alauddin controlled the prices of goods in Delhi. Prices were carefully surveyed by officers, and merchants who did not sell at the prescribed rates were punished. It means that the prices of the essential commodities were fixed by the authority only, and if any of the merchant would sell the items exceeding that limit, then he would get the punishment. Then Muhammad Tughlaq. Muhammad Tughlaq also paid his soldiers cash salaries. But instead of controlling prices, he used a token currency. Now this was the major economic measures adopted by the Muhammad Tughlaq, which actually proved failure, because the introduction of a new token currency was a blunder done by Muhammad bin Tughlaq. This token currency, in this token currency, the coins were made of bronze and copper, and they were treated in value. They were treated equal to the silver and gold coins. So, what people did that time? People did not trust these coins, and they were very smart. They saved their gold and silver coins and paid all their taxes to the state with this token currency. तो क्या हुआ? तुगलक के ट्रेजरी में, उसके खजाने में गोल्ड और सिल्वर कॉइन्स की कमी हो गई. So this cheap currency could also be counterfeited easily also, because people hoarded the gold and silver coins. So next difference, Alauddin's administrative measures were quite successful, and chronicles praised his reign for its cheap prices and efficient supplies of goods in the market, and he successfully withstood the threat of Mongol invasions as well. So as he was defensive in nature, so whatever the economic measures or the measures for the soldiers or for the markets, whatever the measures were adopted by this Alauddin Khalji, that were very good and even praised by the authors of that time. Whereas Muhammad Tughlaq administrative measures were failure. His campaign into Kashmir was a disaster. He then gave up his plans to invade Transoxania and disbanded his large army. Although he had large army, but half of his army was busy in Kashmir, and the other part of the army, he was planning to send the other part of the army to the Transoxania. So the army was disbanded. So that proved a failure. Meanwhile, his administrative measures created complications, like the shifting of people to Daulatabad was resented. Like I told you that the old city of Delhi was evacuated by the residents, and he made residents to move to the new capital city called Daulatabad, and and Daulatabad was in south, so there was a huge distance between Delhi and Daulatabad, so residents resented for this. Then the raising of taxes and famine in the Ganga Yamuna belt led to widespread rebellion. He raised the taxes, and that time famine was also there. So already economical conditions of the people was very worst. Even then he imposed huge taxes, so the people revolted against him. And finally the token currency had to be recalled, because the introduction of the token currency was also a great blunder done by Muhammad Tughlaq. So he was criticized by several writers. So these were the differences between the measures adopted by Alauddin Khalji and Muhammad Tughlaq. Now, after the Tughlaq dynasty, the next two dynasties were Sayyid dynasty and Lodi dynasty. Now, Khizr Khan was the first Sayyid ruler. He was the founder of the Sayyid dynasty, and there were four Sayyid Sultan who ruled up to 1451. Now, the last ruler of this Sayyid dynasty was defeated by Bahul Lodi, and then Bahul Lodi came to the throne of Delhi, and then after Bahul Lodi, Sikandar Lodi came, and after Sikandar Lodi, Ibrahim Lodi came. And Ibrahim Lodi was very important in Lodi dynasty because he had a fight with Babur in 1526, and this Babur was actually the person who laid the foundation of Mughal Empire in India. So there was a fight between Ibrahim Lodi and Babur in 1526, and the 1526 was the foundation year of Mughal Empire in India, and the Mughal Empire is the next chapter, and in that I'll explain. Now, end of Delhi Sultanate. So with the death of Ibrahim Lodi, the Delhi Sultanate came to an end. After that, Mughal dynasty started with Babur, then Humayun, and so many other Mughal rulers were there. But between this Mughal empire, this Sur empire also came to the throne. Now, some interesting fact related to this chapter, the masjid. A mosque is called a masjid in Arabic, literally a place where a Muslim prostrates in reverence to Allah, means where they can offer worship. In a congregational mosque, Masjid-e-Jami or Jama Masjid means a place where they could offer their prayers to Allah, where they gathered and offer the prayers collectively. Muslims read their prayers, which are called namaz, together. Members of the congregation choose the most respected learned male as their leader, and that leader is called imam, means a leader that leads religious prayer in mosque. तो उन ग्रुप्स में, उन मेंबर्स में जो सबसे बड़ा और रिस्पेक्टेड और लर्नड मेल मेंबर होता है उसको इमाम बनाया जाता है और वो प्रेयर्स को लीड करता है. He also delivers the sermon. Sermon means the messages or talks on religion, which are called khutbah during the Friday prayer. During prayer, Muslims stand facing Makkah. Makkah is actually a city in Saudi Arabia, and Muslims consider it a holy city in Islam. And this city is facing towards the west side from India, and this is called Qibla. Now, several mosques were built by Delhi Sultan in cities all over the subcontinent, and these are the name. The first one is Kuwait al-Islam Mosque and Minaret. These were built by Qutbuddin Aibak and Iltutmish. And further, these mosques were enlarged by Iltutmish and Alauddin Khalji. The next we have Begumpuri Mosque. It was built in the reign of Muhammad Tughlaq, and the main mosque of Jan Panaha. It means that Begumpuri Mosque was also known as the sanctuary of the world. Then Mot Ki Masjid. It was built in the reign of Sikandar Lodi by his minister. Mosque of Jamali Kamali. It was built in the late 1520s. So these were the name of different mosques which were built all over the subcontinent by different Delhi sultans. Now, the next one is the Circle of Justice. This extract I have taken from your NCERT book, and that in this Fakri-e-Mudabir wrote in the 13th century about this Circle of Justice, and these were the words written in his language that a king cannot survive without soldiers. It means that kings were dependent upon soldiers, and soldiers cannot live without salaries. Now, for the survival, soldiers need money, need salaries, and salaries come from the revenue. And who paid the revenue? Revenue was collected from peasants. So it means that ultimately king was dependent upon the peasants, because king had to give the salaries to the soldiers, and from where he could extracted the salaries from the revenue which he was collected from the peasants. But peasants can pay revenue only when they are prosperous and happy. It means this was the responsibility of the king to make their peasants happy and prosperous, so that they could pay the revenue to him. So this happens when the king promotes justice and honest governance. And when the peasants could be happy if the governance was better and if the justice was there. So this circle of justice is an appropriate term to describe the relationship between the king and his subject. Subject here means people. People में soldiers भी आ जाते हैं और peasants भी आ जाते हैं. King was dependent upon soldiers and peasants, and to satisfy them, king's governance must be efficient. Then, account of travelers. Now, this Ibn Battuta, the 14th century traveler Ibn Battuta, he traveled from Morocco. It's in Africa. He explained that chieftains, here chieftains were not Delhi sultans or were not military commanders. They were local rulers who had power. Sometimes fortified themselves in mountains, rocky and uneven places, as well as in bamboo groves. The bamboos in India are big and so intertwined that even fire cannot affect them. Means the chieftains who were rebellion, who resented the Delhi Sultanate authority. So they fortified themselves, they hide themselves in such areas where the common people belonging to the Delhi Sultans could not reach. And the chieftains lived inside these and had their cattle and crops also inside these. And these people had resources inside that bamboo groves. Water was also available for them in the form of collected rainwater. Hence, it was very tough to subdue them. Means it was very tough to overcome them, to brought under their control. So, king needed a strong army to brought these chieftains under his control, so that that strong army could cut these bamboos on entering these forests. So this was the description given by the Ibn Battuta in his travel log. So with this the chapter is finished, and very soon I'll come up with the next chapter, the Mughal Empire. Till then, keep learning and have a nice day.